We came to the third tradition of Chinese custom. So it was decided that Alexander has to return the gift of the Chinese statue. Sir Alexander smiled his thanks and thought carefully about the Mandarin's word. So I have to return. So he was actually relieved some way he can return it. Once back in his official residence, he went immediately to the embassy's extensive library to see if he could discover a realistic value for the little masterpiece. How much will be the worth of it? How much? After much careful research, he came across a drawing of a Ming statue that was almost an exact copy of the one now in his possession. And with the help of the Mandarin, he was able to assess its true worth, the value of the statue. A figure that came to almost 3 years' emolument for a servant of the crown, that is, his 3 years' annual salary. That was the value of the statue, his 3 years' salary. The minister discussed the problem with Lady Heathcote and she left her husband in no doubt as to the course of action he must take. That how he has to return the gift. Means not gift, give a return gift. The Chinese statue, not to return the Chinese statue, give something instead of the Chinese statue. The following week, the minister dispatched a letter by private messenger to his bankers, Hoods and Company in the Strand. So that is the name of the bank. A letter is being sent to that bank, London, requesting that they send a large part of his servants to reach him in Peking as quickly as possible. So he was withdrawing a huge amount from his bank. When the funds arrived 9 weeks later, the minister again approached the Mandarin, who listened to his questions and gave him the details he had asked for 7 days later. So he asked certain questions to the Mandarin, and Mandarin gave the answer to those questions 7 days later. The Mandarin, now what were the questions, what were the answers? Here, the Mandarin had discovered that he wanted, what did Sir Alexander ask for? Sir Alexander asked for the details of the old craftsman. Why did Sir Alexander ask for the details of the old craftsman? To decide what gift has to be given in return for the gift of the Chinese statue. And what did Mandarin say? We will come to it. The Mandarin had discovered that the little craftsman Young Li. So what do you know about the little craftsman? The little craftsman Young Li came from the old and trusted family of Young Shaw. So his family name was Young Shaw, who had for some 500 years been craftsman. Sir Alexander also learned that many of Young Li's ancestors had examples of their work in the palaces of Manchu princes. That means they were all famous craftsmen. Young Li himself was growing old and wished to retire to the hills above the village where his ancestors had always died. So that is the second thing. Young Li was from the family of Young Shaw. About for 500 years they had been craftsmen, and Young Li wished to retire to the hills above the village where his ancestors had died. His son was ready to take over the workshop from him and continue the family tradition. The minister thanked the Mandarin for his diligence and had only one more request to him. The Mandarin listened sympathetically to the ambassador from England and returned to the palace to seek advice. So, something related to the palace of China. He had another request. A few days later, the empress granted Sir Alexander's request. Now, why did Sir Alexander ask the empress the request? Because it is connected to another tradition, a Chinese tradition, the fourth Chinese tradition. The fourth Chinese tradition is a person from China, Chinese citizen, cannot accept a gift from the foreigner. Are not supposed to accept any gifts from the foreigners. So, here, until and unless the empress allows, must get the permission of the empress. So here, Sir Alexander Heathcote got the permission from the empress. Now, The statue is with the Chinese statue is with Sir Alexander Heathcote. Now these points in the Mandarin's permission and Alexander finding out, these points are also important because a question may come: how did Sir Alexander Heathcote give the return gift for young Lee? Then you have to have points from here, and the Mandarin's points and Emperor's permission. All these things must come in that, if an essay comes in that way. So there are a possible 5 or 6 essays that can come from this Chinese statue. You must be very thorough with it. Okay.